thank you so much for all the support on the community conversation last Saturday. It was a huge success. I know from the video you may not have been able to tell, but we had a packed house. Every chair in the building was full. Amazing feedback, amazing support from the community. So shout out to my panelists if they're watching this morning. You all did an amazing job. And I know for some of you, it was your first time ever speaking out about the loss of your loved ones, your siblings. So just really appreciate the community support, and Brooks Place coming out, Omar Heflin coming out, and giving us some words of wisdom and encouragement. So I just want to say thank you. The community conversation will continue. I actually came up this morning with the next one. So we will be doing a community conversation every 2 months in a location where the community can come out and hang with us as we shine light into dark places. So this morning, I have another wonderful crew with me. We're going to talk about the importance of voting. Election day is 3 days away, ladies. And I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of the rhetoric. And I'll apologize now. I've been coughing for a week, so I have a cough drop in, and so just excuse me for coughing. But it's been crazy. And as I was conversing this week with some students I was working with, I told them for the first time I was actually nervous when I saw Mr. Trump leading in the polls, even though it was like the margin of error basically, but still, even to see him at 47 and Hillary at 43 or 44 made me nervous. I don't know about anybody else. I was nervous. I cannot imagine a Trump society. However, this is why we need to get out and vote. So today I have my lovely grandmother, Catherine Brown. I brought my grandmother on. So a few weeks ago we were talking, and as we were concluding the show, I told the producer, I said, I'm gonna have my grandmother come on and talk about when you couldn't vote as an African American. Some of us don't understand our history to just understand how important our present is. People fought, bled, and died for African Americans to be able to have the right to vote. I remember from being a little girl, spent a lot of time with my grandparents, always seeing them getting up and voting. My grandmother worked the polls. My grandfather came in with his I just voted stickers. So all I wanted to do was vote when I turned 18. So my first election that I voted in, I believe was Bush, the son, not the father. I'm not that old. But it was Bush and Gore, I believe it was. I was 18, so whenever that was, 2000, I got out and voted. And I inspired my mother to vote. That was my mom's first time ever voting, was in that election. So I have not stopped voting since, even in the primaries. I believe in getting out and vote, all because my grandparents inspired me. And I studied my history on why it was so important for me to get out, because of the right that so many lost their lives for, went to jail for, lived a very difficult life for me to get that chance and opportunity. So that's why I have my grandmother here. She's going to talk about growing up and being a little girl in the South and dealing with the Jim Crow laws and just not being able to vote. And then I have my wonderful, I like to say, crime-fighting partners from Moms Demand Action. We do all have our mom's gear on. They're going to dive in a little bit and talk about the Moms Demand Action and the importance of being a single-issue voter. We are a nonpartisan group, right, ladies? However, we believe in justice for all, I like to say. We believe in justice for all. So as I was working in the schools, I told the kids this week, it's not about a party line. Look at the issues. I never try to persuade anybody right or to the left, but look at the issues and see where they fall in line. And so many of the kids said, the older kids, believe it or not, said, oh, it doesn't affect us, it won't affect us. And then when I started going down the different issues, and they were like, oh, wow, minimum wage being $12, that would definitely affect me. So look at the issues. But I'm ready to dive in with my grandmother. So good morning.
Good morning.
So happy to have you here.
I'm so glad to be here with everyone.
So glad to be here. So a lot of my speaking that I love to do comes from this lady right here, Grandma speaks a lot. She preaches. She does a lot in the community as I was growing up. So I was seeing her on stage and platforms a lot. So another inspiration point. But I want to talk about when you were a little girl in Mississippi. And so being able to vote. Did you ever see your dad? So in 1867, all men were given the right to vote. It was given right, but it doesn't mean they had the actual opportunity.
Not in 1968, you say?
No, 1867, it was signed in the law that all men could vote.
Right.
No matter their race, creed, or color.
No.
But did you ever see a black man vote in Mississippi?
No.
Okay. Talk about that a little bit.
No, they wasn't able to vote because of their race. And a lot of time you're living on a plantation. And a plantation is so different because you say your boss or the guy that own the plantation, you're living there. You never have a chance to get out and vote or do anything. Because basically, you're like, we said, the hills and the working area. All we know then to chop cotton, then it's time to pick cotton. And they just didn't like the colors to do anything,
so
like voting.
So like now, you have to allow your employees to get off and vote.
Yes.
They didn't allow that.
They didn't allow that, no.
They could not say, you know what, I got to run to the polls.
No, they couldn't do that. Even if they would think about doing that, or either go there, you have these people there with their guns, they're on the horses. They definitely want black to come near the voting polls. That was a no-no.
So when an African-American male tried to go vote, and when I was doing my research with this, they would stand at the polls with guns, with dogs,
guns,
to stop them from coming to vote.
Coming in voting.
Basically a scare tactic.
It was. So you had some, black men, they will vote. They wanted to vote and they'll give it a try, but they never was able to vote because the situation that the white men had guns, they were on their horses, they'll run over you. There's so many of our black men lost their life trying to vote because they feel like they had a right to vote,
Right.
And they lost their life.
That's hard for me to comprehend. I'm 34 years old. It's 2016. When I want to vote, I get in my car, I drive to a school or wherever my polling place is, and I vote. And when I think about the scare tactics, unfortunately, I feel like that's coming back right now. I seen a 100-year-old woman in North Carolina. She was in her bed. She wants to vote. She has voted in I don't know how many elections, and now they're saying her ID is incorrect. Trying to take away her right to vote that I know she lost friends and families. She probably marched for her right to vote.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
See, a lot of time, so many of them did. They didn't care whether they died for the other people's life. They'll give up their life to vote at that time. Yeah, so we can have that right, And it went through a lot. And at that time, my grandparents, they never even thought about voting because they know they didn't have a right, and they know if they would go there and try to vote, they would be killed or something happened to them. Wow. They had no rights at that time in 1800s.
Wow.
Not even in 19, they didn't have it.
Not even the early 1900s.
I come along in that time and that's I said was in 1957, they go back to 1954, 56. No, we didn't even dare. I didn't even try to go vote because there was a no-no.
I know when we were talking in the car, you said I didn't even think about it because too afraid.
That's right.
And your parents, my great-grandparents, my great-great-grandparents didn't even get out and try to vote because it was like a life-risking event to just.
It was a no-no. And didn't do that.
And so in 1920, women were given the right to vote. What did that mean?
They didn't vote. They might have had a few white women, excuse that, voted, but no black women.
No black women voted.
No.
Did it matter? Do you think, so you said, your grandparents said, I didn't even think about it. Did they discuss politics? Did they care who was president? Or they were just too afraid to really worry about it?
We would talk about things among ourselves.
Okay.
To never get out, because at that time you're on a plantation, and there's certain things you didn't do. And we know we were raised like that. You didn't do. We just didn't participate in anything. But they know I had smart grandparents, very smart. Some of them went to college, but at a certain time, they wasn't able to participate in anything. And on my mother's side, their parents, they had their own land. They had a lot. But my daddy, we live on a plantation. His parents are a plantation is totally different from the hill part. The plantation is one that the overseer, your boss, whatever he is, he live on this plantation. And there's so much you didn't like to do, but you had to go to field. You have to work for them for nothing. You had to go through the back door. You couldn't go through the front door, even if you're working in a restaurant. You would that was a no-no. And at time,
it was a Jim Crow law.
Yeah, they just tried to treat you like you wasn't nobody.
Wow.
So we really didn't get involved with a whole lot of it. We just stayed on the plantation. We worked, went to church, and did all of that. And it was rough.
So I should feel really privileged that I can be on a platform and actually talk about voting as an African American woman.
You should be. It's a blessing.
Because you guys had to keep it a secret to even talk about politics.
Right. We didn't get out among them and talk. They be want to kill you or shoot you or have someone to kill you. That's what a lot of them they did in those days. They'll have some, may I say, a Negro or black man to come and try to help them kill the white. They did what they want to do. We had no rights.
Wow.
No
I
rights.
didn't know this.
No, we
I
didn't.
talk to my grandmother almost every day. I didn't know
no rights.
that it was just that bad in your childhood. I didn't know that.
In the 1940, 1943, I can remember they come out and wanted to even beat my granddad. My dad, they never did bother him. Any little thing you do, or if they are not involved and tell you to do it, they want to come in, talk about beating your children, or come into your home, do what they want to do. But I have to always say that because of God, He kept us through prayer.
Yes.
Kept us through prayer. So we never got involved in voting until 1965.
So when I think about everything you just said, and I think about Martin Luther King and all these other phenomenal leaders who marched for us, that was a big deal. They were truly making a sacrifice to step out so that we could have this right to choose or be a part of the decision in a democratic process of who was our national leader.
Right.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal, and it meant a lot to me. I came here, got married, started my children, started having my kids, and I would just every day couldn't wait to get the newspaper to read and see what was going on with Martin Luther King in the march,
So in 1965, there was a march from Selma, Alabama to the capital of Montgomery. All kind of people of all different races who felt like everyone should have the equal right to vote.
Right.
Excuse me. Gathered together and said, we're going to march. We're going to march. We need change. We need our rights. And everybody should have a voice in this process.
Yes.
So they got together and they marched. Before they could get to Montgomery, they were met with so much offense.
Yes.
People were beaten.
Yes.
People got scared.
Yeah.
Took off running the other direction.
Yes.
People lost their lives.
Yes.
On this march. And the president, which at the time was Lyndon B. Johnson,
yes.
because President Kennedy had been assassinated.
Yes.
He saw all this going on and he said, no, there's got to be a fair process. And what I read was I was on blackhistory.com, and he said there has to be fairness across the board for everybody to have a voice. I thought that was powerful. I wish we could have showed the picture.
That was very powerful.
So he got with the leaders.
Yes.
Did you watch this on TV or anything?
I watched every
I was wondering that.
Every chance I could, I would watch it because I was so excited that God had got into their heart to change things.
Yeah.
Because remember, we knew that we were not an animal. We wasn't animal
Right.
that walk on 4 legs. We
Right.
walk on 2 legs, but they want to treat us like
Right.
we're animals.
Mhm.
You know, that nobody cared for us. But we had a lot of love going among ourselves and everything.
Oh, of
And
course.
we had to, we had no other choice to do. But you know, just coming out of the South, backing up, when I left home, I worked for this lady a week.
Mhm.
And when she heard that my husband had come up here, she would not pay me. So for $10, one for $10 for a week. See, I did a whole lot back in those years that on the plantation, and so much that I could write a book because we was not treated right, but because of the love that we got from our parents and the communication among our sisters and brothers, like 12 of us, and we worked very, very hard, sun up to sundown, $2 a day. So that's the kind of feeling that we had at that time. But when they began to come out for we can vote, that we can do some things on our own, it makes you feel really good and proud of I really go back to John F. Kennedy. I think things would begin to turn around even when he became the president. It was different because things were lighting up then, and I'm sure President Johnson saw these things would happen. Then he caught the vision. That's what it is. We have good white people, just like good black and on each side. But those people in the South, some of them, they feel like black people is not worth nothing to do what I want to do. You can come in and clean my house up. You can take care of my kid. You can cook my food and all of that. But I'm not good enough to come through your front door. So those are things that I went through. And when we was able to vote, I felt real good and proud.
It felt like a new freedom.
It was. You
got a freedom. So when you saw in 1965, they were standing in the Oval Office. It made me think of when I got to go to the White House and stand there with President Obama when he signed the executive action on some of the gun laws. So it did. I was looking at that, I'm like, wow, so I was a part of history too. But to see that, it also, again, made me appreciate my right. So when you heard that, you were like, okay. So it was August 6, 1965. It was 20 days before your 25th birthday.
That's right.
So the voting age used to be 21, then they lowered it to 18. You didn't get to vote until you were 25 years old.
Right.
So you went to the polls here in Indianapolis
to
vote that November.
My husband and I, we were excited to go and vote. Though we got a voice. We might not be all out in the cloud, up in the cloud, but we could speak our piece. And excited. I was very excited when President Kennedy became president. There was something different there. I was very excited. So I was excited to vote.
I like when you said they went to vote together. Her and my beloved grandfather. They had a voice.
Yes.
They finally felt like they had a voice. I think that's so important for our millennials to understand that you need to get out and vote on Tuesday. You have a voice. You have a voice to choose. And, you know, I hear people say, my vote doesn't count. My vote doesn't matter. Every vote counts. And as President Obama told a group he was speaking to last week, I believe it was in North or South Carolina, he said the biggest send-off you could give me is going out and voting. Right. He wants that legacy to continue, you know. So people say my vote doesn't count because of the electoral college and stuff like that. It does count because the more votes we have for a certain person in here, all our electoral college votes go to that president. They would win the state. So every vote does matter.
It count. I would think everybody should be able to go out and vote instead of arguing and carrying on who's gonna do this and that. Go out and vote because maybe I shouldn't say it on this. Lord knows. I don't know what Trump gonna do.
And
the
that's
thing
your
that
opinion.
he's saying is scary. Things he is saying and doing is scary because I don't know how he made it this far. I really don't.
I think more than one of us are wondering that.
I don't know how because the way he talked and the way he said things, I don't know. But God knows. So that's what we have. We get in a certain situation. We just have to. see what God said about it.
That's right.
This is awful right now, going back and forth, how they, both sides going back and forth, what they should do. Just get on and to make it through this.
And I understand, it seems like every year I get a little bit more and more involved with the political process. This year was definitely big for us because having Hillary Clinton been a gun since
And
a lady, yes,
Mhm.
very excited about that.
Yes.
But as a mother of someone who's been shot and severely injured, I am voting for Hillary as a single issue voter. If there was a man who was saying, I support gun sense legislation, I would vote for him. I am a single issue voter. Secondly, I'm excited to see a woman in office, especially after seeing an African American president. It shows progress. Some of these amazing kids that I was talking about earlier, this is kind of a segue. I allowed them to write me who they would vote for and why, because last Wednesday we had someone come in from the judicial branch of our local legislation here in Indiana to talk about the importance of voting. And so the kids were, I've been to high schools, they could care less. These elementary kids were so pumped up, so excited, had so much energy about voting for Hillary Clinton. We did not persuade them either way. They wanted Hillary. So this one of them said, and this is Lexi. My name is Lexi. If a woman became president, it would really inspire young or older girls to follow their dreams, especially considering that 30 years ago, women didn't have rights to vote, yet alone become a president. That's from a 6th grader.
Yes.
So it's the inspiration behind seeing this. And let me tell you, these kids do see the fighting and the bickering going on, but they feel like Mrs. Clinton has to defend herself. So that was a lot of their stands. And then some of them were saying, I mean, they're both mean to each other. They shouldn't be mean, but they understand that it's almost like a dogfight, like you're in an arena when you're up. And they've watched the debates. And I asked the children, I said, are your parents inspiring the? Because the things they were saying to me, I was just like, how old are you again? Some of them were like 9 and 10 years old telling me their opinions. And they said, no, we watch the news and we watch the debates, and they form their own opinion on who they will vote for. So I thought that was pretty amazing. Grandma, I'm going to come back to you. But when we talk about single issue voting, I've been working with moms for over 2 years now. I'm not quite sure how long have you been involved with moms?
About a year and a half.
About a year and a half. And Jane?
4 years in February.
Oh, so you've been since the very beginning almost.
Yeah.
Almost the very beginning, because the 5th year anniversary or 4th year anniversary is next month. Why did I say 5th? I clearly know it's the 4th year anniversary next month for the founding of Moms Demand Action. So before we get into single issue voting, one of you ladies want to give us a little history. What is Moms Demand Action? We're all wearing these shirts. People are like, what are you talking about?
Okay. Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America is a group that was founded by a woman in Zionsville in the wake of the shootings at Sandy Hook Elementary in Newtown, Connecticut. And she was just so, stunned that that could happen in our country, and so disturbed and worried about her own children. And she started a Facebook page to try to just take some action. And since that time, 4 years ago, December, the membership in the country has grown to over 3.5 million people.
Wow.
And in Indiana, we have over 80,000 members statewide. And basically, as a group, we advocate for common sense gun legislation, such as universal background checks for all gun sales, regardless whether they take place from a federally licensed firearm dealer or whether they take place at a gun show or online. We would like every gun sale to undergo a background check.
Yes.
We advocate against guns in sensitive places, such as churches and schools.
Playgrounds.
Yes, and we also advocate against the open carry movement, since in Indiana in particular, you do not have to, there's no training requirement. So a person could be carrying a gun in public with having undergone no background check and no training. And we all know that tempers can flare, and people who have, access to a gun on their hip, it can result in tragedy.
It can
So,
result in tragedy. Yes.
So those are our stances. We support politicians who advocate for these things, as we do, and who have, stated that they will vote for common sense gun legislation, which is why in this particular election we've endorsed Hillary Clinton because she has come out in support of those things.
Right. So that takes us back to why we are we're a nonpartisan group, but focusing on the single issue of just having sensible gun legislation. So I always like to say this, especially when I'm on Twitter with people who just love Moms Demand Action. I say that sarcastically. We do not want your guns. That's not what Moms Demand Action is about. We support the Second Amendment. It is your right. But we believe that guns should be in the hands of those who have went through an extensive background check. Not just giving a gun on the internet. I went on the internet, I went on Facebook, and I bought a gun. How? They could sell guns to people who just got out of prison for committing murder, because now you can commit murder and go to jail for 2 years. That's a whole nother show. But that's my point, is that we support, gun legislation. So talk about, and I don't know if you want to talk about this, just going a little bit more on how Moms Demand Action is supporting Hillary Clinton.
Well, like you said, we're nonpartisan, and we will support any legislator who agrees with our stance on background checks. And for the very first time this year in the political arena, gun violence has become front and center. It's never been an issue that's been talked about before. And this year, thanks to Hillary Clinton, it has been brought to the forefront of the debate. And especially in the presidential election, and then down the ballot on a lot of the other polls too, this issue has become front and center, and part of that is due to Moms Demand Action getting out there and going to debates locally and nationally, showing up at the White House like you've done, and our organization has become so big and so on the forefront that we've been able to make that an issue. And so Hillary has come out and said that she supports us, and she supports the background checks, and she supports safer gun legislation. And so we have gone out and we have done phone banking for her, and we have gone to her rallies, and we have knocked on doors, and just taken all of our resources of all of these hundreds of thousands of people that have joined on with us, and gone out there to support her and to get her into the White House so that we can have safer gun laws.
So Moms Demand Action is like a grassroots organization. They don't just talk about it, they be about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see the posts, I'm like, these people are amazing. A lot of energy. So they actually get out and knock on doors. They make lots of phone calls. Do you guys know where we're at with phone calls?
I'm not sure.
I know we had, from Wednesday to Thursday, 1,000 people had signed up to be called in 24 to 48 hours. Because Mom Demand Action is demanding action. Honestly, the name says it all. They're demanding policy change. They are getting out and being the change that they want to see in the world, which is why I decided to be a part of the group after my son was
and the great
injured.
thing about moms too is that we can do it while we're living our life.
Yep.
I mean, you can make phone calls from your home. You can go to places to do it with the groups. And when I'm rocking my baby in the rocking chair, I'm sending text messages to people to get them out to the polls and to get them to events. And I mean, you can do it all at the same time. And
so it's the hustle. I hustled the hustle is the texting app to invite people out to different events that Moms does. So I hustled for the last and final debate. The debates have been so crazy. I was just watching them at home by myself. And I said, I'm going to go out and do this one, especially since I had hustled. And the very first thing that was talked about was the Second Amendment. Later, he called her a nasty woman. But the first conversation, I think somebody had put on Twitter, the first 2 minutes was about the Second Amendment. And when I was listening to Mrs. Clinton, I was like, she's been with moms. I knew some of her lingo and things like that. She has made the initiative to travel with women who have been directly impacted. Actually, all of them lost their sons to gun violence, major cases. It's called Mothers of the Movement.
Yes.
Mothers of the Movement, and they've been allotted to work with Hillary on a lot of the gun law legislation, in hopes to deter gun violence. So it's not gun violence laws; it's gun law legislation in hopes to turn some of the gun violence around. So when I see things like that, and I'm like, wow, she's taken the time to spend with mothers who have lost their babies to gun violence, which we know a lot of those cases, and again, that would be another show to dive into those particular cases, but a lot of those cases where guns were in the hands of the wrong person. Yeah, they were in the hands of the wrong person. So that's why I say, yes, I'm excited for a woman to be in office, but more importantly, I am excited for someone who is tired of seeing us crying, burying our children, having to console siblings who have lost their loved ones. So it's just, this is very personal for me. And I had a little girl in the classroom, so she's going down her list of why she votes for Hillary, and she said, and I support Hillary's ideas on gun legislation. She's 9. I had to ask her, so how old are you saying this stuff to me? She's 9, and then a lot of times I don't indulge to them what I've been through, especially that young. But when she said that, I said, you know what? I absolutely agree with you because of what I've been through with my own child. I've been personally affected by gun violence. That is why I am voting. This is my show. I can say who I'm voting for. I don't care. I am voting for Hillary Clinton. Maybe she'll endorse me later or something. I don't know. But no, I am all in support of protecting our babies. And that's what, as my grandmother was saying, a lot of the bickering needs to stop. And we need to understand, what are you going to do?
Yes.
To the left and to the right. What are you going to do? I think this election has grabbed the attention of so many,
Yes.
for so many reasons, but I think unfortunately it's grabbed the attention because of the bickering and the fighting and the disrespect that has taken place. I have a good friend who is voting for Trump. I should have asked her if I could say her name on the show, but I'm not. She is voting for Trump. But one thing I can say, when I was talking to someone else at a mom's about it, I said I can't quite, because we went to lunch and she asked me, so why are you voting for Hillary? She knew I was voting for Hillary, but she actually wanted to know. But I felt like I couldn't get that same response as to why you're voting for Trump outside the fact that you are a Republican. And so when I talk to the kids, I say, I grew up saying I'm going to vote Democrat because Grandma and Granddaddy voted Democrat. So I would just go in there and do a straight ticket Democrat. But as I have gotten older, I have decided that I need to listen to the issues. And like everything in life, I like to be a well-rounded individual. So I'll listen to both sides so that I can make a well-educated decision. The Bible talks about people perish for their lack of knowledge. You guys know I say scriptures every week. But people perish for their lack of knowledge. I urge you, even in these next few days, to do your research, get some knowledge. So when you go to the polls on November 8th, you can make an educated decision on who you will be voting for and
Can
why.
I jump in here?
Yes.
There's a website, ballotpedia.org. You can go there, type your address in. It'll bring up your polling, all of your what you're going to be voting on, and you can click on all the candidates and see a list of all of their issues and how they feel about everything.
That's
So,
good.
you know, the presidential election is not the only thing that's important this going out to the polls this year. Especially here in Indiana,
Yes.
our governor race, our congressional race,
Very important.
all of those are so important, and those affect us right here in Indiana.
Yes.
And so, you know, that website is great for going in on there. There's school board races, which, I mean, you work in the schools, that's important too.
It's
all
all
of that
important.
stuff, you know, go on that website and you can see all the issues and be able to make educated decisions
Yes.
on every person in your, sorry I interrupted
Oh,
you.
no, it's perfectly
That's
fine.
good.
That was a good website because every week I also say knowledge is power. So educate yourself and have the knowledge, even to get out and discuss it. So I feel like with what we were just saying, we're kind of making a plea to you undecided voters. Go on, read, educate yourself so that you will go out and vote on Tuesday with the educated decision. Right now we're going to take a break, and we will be back to talk a little bit more about my grandmother's experience in the South, because I just think that these young viewers need to understand why it's so important. But you really need to know your history so you can be functional in your present, understand your present, capture the importance of your present, and then more importantly, your future. So I want to talk about that a little more, and then I also want to talk about something very special that Moms and Men Action does. It has nothing to do with the election, but I would be remiss having Jane on the show and not talking about the Be Smart program. I was in New York when it was officially unveiled. I watched the very first presentation of Be Smart, and I have not been a part of it like I would like to be, but we're getting me on board, and I want her to talk about why it's important and why I was even approached about coming on board. So we will be right back. Thank you for tuning in to Positively You. Welcome back to Positively You. We have a few more minutes to continue shining a light into voting and the importance of voting. And I want to go back to my grandmother to talk about a little bit more about when that shift happened in the South. So tell us a little bit about the shift.
Okay. After they were marching, a lot of them got hurt, killed, ran away from it. But I give it their praise to Martin Luther King, his group. They never stopped, although they were beat and whatever went on, But they never stopped marching. Mm-hmm. They didn't give up. That's the way it should be now. We're not giving up. We're going to vote. Go and vote. That's the main thing. That's when if you don't vote, you're giving up. But if you go and vote, you will determine that you're going to go all the way to the end. And this is why he said after he did a speak after they made it there at this particular place, and he made a good speak, and then that did something to the president, Lyndon Johnson, signed an amendment for them. Yeah, it did something for them to go ahead on, and he signed an amendment for they can vote. Mm-hmm. He knew they had worked hard. They stood up all these years fighting for freedom. That's what it was, freedom. And when he signed that, all they could think about, we are free to vote. Mm-hmm. So we're going to keep on feel like we are free to vote, for this election. We're going to vote. So if I were you, and I know, when we wasn't able to vote or speak a word or do that's back in the background all our life, and God had opened it up through the president and Martin Luther King, the march, that allowed us to vote, I would be running. Mm-hmm. I was checking and see if there's anything that I can help someone to make it to the voting place to vote. Come on now. Let's run and vote and be thankful.
Grandma gonna start preaching. But Grandma, so sometimes you work at the polls.
Yeah.
Are you doing that this year?
I don't think so. They call me and want me to, but I have my sister here.
And that's right.
Yeah, my sister will be here, and I'm gonna have to take care of my sister.
Oh, that's right. So prior to this year, I remember always you going out and working at the polls and stuff. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot.
There's no dogs out there scaring you.
No
There's
dogs.
No bats. No men on horses.
That's right. I don't have to worry about that. We overcome that.
I don't have to worry about that.
So it's nice. You meet people. You're excited when you meet them. They come, or you see them. They come. You say good morning, and you're excited. They can feel when you're excited, not being mean. You're excited because we're able to vote. God is not looking. Maybe I should say. But anyway, He's not looking at the color. He's looking at the heart.
That's right.
And that's what we need now. We got to get away from color, this and that. Although we've been through a lot, but it's okay because God had helped us over that. So we have to look at the heart and look at that person and be thankful that we are able to vote. So I am excited to vote, I'm very excited.
Grandma's one of those people that be at the polls at 6 a.m.
Right.
Now, I'm excited to vote. I will not be there at 6 a.m. Actually, this year I'm going to early vote, which I've never done because I really, especially this election, I really wanted to be there on the excitement of election day. But since I'm off of work, I'm going to go spend that day with Dre so I can participate in his rehab activities that day. I have to take advantage of that. So I'm going to early vote this year. Actually, probably when I leave here, I'm going to go early vote. So that I can make sure. I know my mom's going with me, and she called me. She was like, "We can't go. I gotta vote." And I said, "No, you're gonna go early vote." And even my cousin, when I told her I was going to see Dre, she texted me. She was like, "Now, have you early voted, or what are you gonna do?" Early vote has had record turnouts this year in Texas, in Chicago. In Texas, they said they had 1,000 people an hour voting, early voting. Chicago, I don't know the exact number. I want to say that first day they had like 17,000, I think it was, that voted on that first day. That was record-breaking numbers for people getting out and vote. They're doing that for a couple of reasons. For one, I heard somebody say on Facebook she's doing it because she can hope she can ignore the rest of the election. So she wants to early vote. Some people are doing it out of fear. They're fearful of what could happen on election day. I really don't have that fear. I wanted to do it, and I was going to go live on my way walking, not showing anybody's votes. But some people were actually fearful. There have been reports of jumping. So my cousin said when she went to early vote in Chicago, she stayed to make sure that it did not jump. Another lady went live on Facebook when she left the polls and said hers did jump, and it switched her vote from Hillary to Trump. And she did go back and tell them they did pull the machine out or something. They did an investigation. It was very scary. So I say stay in there, watch your vote be counted, because that is your voice. It's a small, still voice, but that is your voice. Watch your vote be counted. Jane, so before the commercial, I talked about something special. I think it's special. That Moms Demand Action is doing. It's called the Be Smart program. Are you our state lead for that?
I am, yes.
Okay, so Jane is the state lead of the Be Smart program. Like I said, this doesn't have to do with voting, but while she's here, I really want her to talk about this program, and then I'll go back to why I was asked to do it.
Sure. Well, the Be Smart program was reviewed about a year ago as a way for us to address the tragedies of unintentional shootings. So an unintentional shooting happens when a youth age 17 or younger gains access to a gun in one manner or another and unintentionally shoots themselves or someone else. And Indiana, a recent report showed that we have the 7th highest rate in the nation of unintentional shootings. So this is a really big issue here.
I'm sorry, real quick. So in Indiana, we have heard over the last couple of years how guns were left on tables. So they're left unsecured.
Yes.
And I remember a very particular case on the north side. A little boy killed his cousin. I believe he was 9. His cousin was 5. And someone left a gun out in the home, and he killed his cousin unintentionally. They were kids. They didn't know what they were doing. So this is what Be Smart is geared to, is safe storage.
Exactly.
Make sure your guns are secure.
Safe storage, and the word SMART is an acronym. And the S stands for secure guns in homes and vehicles, and that means locking up the gun and storing it unloaded. And M stands for modeling responsible behavior around guns. Never taking a gun out and pointing it at anything unless you're planning to shoot. Make sure the safety is on, but don't rely on the safety, a variety of things. A stands for asking about the presence of unsecured weapons in any home that your child's going to be playing in. And until I became a parent and my child started going to other houses to play, this is something I never considered. But now when I send my kids to other homes, I ask, do you have guns in the home? If so, how are they stored? And then R stands for recognizing the risk of teen suicide. Indiana also has a very high rate of teen suicide. And if a gun is available in the home, it's actually a higher risk factor, the presence and availability of the gun is a higher risk factor than an underlying mental illness in teen suicide, just because of teens' impulsive nature.
Right.
And then finally, the T stands for telling others about these steps that you can take to keep your kids safe. So already in 2016, there have been 20 incidents where children in Indiana have accessed guns and shot themselves or somebody else. And you know, the study that was done that named Indiana as the 7th highest state for unintentional shootings found that between January 1st of 2015 and July 30th of 2016, there were 45 incidents, and that resulted in the death of 11 children. And so, you know, there are very simple steps that we can take to help keep kids safe. If you do have a gun in your home and you're keeping it for self-protection, you know, obviously that is something that we recognize as your right, and we just ask that you take the responsibility to secure it.
Yes, please.
We do offer free gun locks. We also know that the Marion County Health Department offers free gun locks, as well as the Indianapolis Police Department. So if you need a lock to secure your gun, there are ways to get one for free. So.
Who could think of a worse way of losing their child than a gun that was left unsecured? And think of the mental on a child who accidentally kills a sibling, a cousin, a loved one. I think in one case this year, and you probably know a little bit more about this, the little boy killed his father from the unsecured gun.
Yes. That was a case. I gotta bring up my notes to see where it took place. But it was in Hartsville, Indiana, and it was a 6-year-old, and he, they had, I think his father had the gun out. I don't know if he was cleaning it or something. And his father had turned his back, was sitting at a desk, and the 6-year-old picked up the gun and was, you know, examining it, because that's what kids do. They're curious. They pick up something and they look at it, and he unintentionally shot his father in the back, and his father died. So.
Yeah, it's since I've been doing this work with moms in every town. Every town is our survivor network that I'm in. I have met parents, one couple in particular that I really bonded with. Their daughter was murdered at a friend's house, 13 years old, and her friend was showing her gun, her father's gun, and their daughter had her back turned, probably turning to leave, and her so-called best friend shot her. My problem with this is no charges are brought against these people. And when I think about my son's case, the rumors and the names and things we had, it was a teenager. How did he get a gun? Someone probably left it unsecured, a family member, he stole it, something like that. So that falls into that unsecured, but I don't give him the credit of ever saying it was an accident or anything like that. That's why we use the word unintentional. Dre was not his intended target, but someone probably left that gun out because, you know, he was a teenager at the time. He got that gun from somewhere because he wasn't old enough. But a lot of times, so in this particular case of the friends of mine, that family was not held accountable for what their daughter did or for the adult who left that gun unsecured. So this family lost their beautiful, beautiful daughter. I should have asked them too if I could say her name. I don't think they would mind at all. Her name is Brooklyn. And they're a family in Las Vegas. And no charges were ever brought against the people who did that. There was a family in Florida. I know you've probably heard this, of the daughter, because the petition is going around like crazy on Facebook. The lady's daughter was murdered when her husband's friend was showing them a gun, or he was doing something with the gun in Florida, and not only killed her, but she was pregnant. No charges have ever been brought against this guy, and that mom is fighting with petitions trying to get charges brought against him. So to me, the Be Smart program is so needed and so important. And real quick, Jane, tell us, if people want you to come out and do a presentation, how do they find you? Because you do PTO, any kind of community groups.
I will present anywhere.
She will set up
anyone.
her Be Smart have her gun locks, because you bring gun locks to those presentations, and so how can they find you if they want you to come and talk about Be Smart at their community organization? Or
Sure. Probably the easiest email to remember is Indiana, at momschapterleaders.org. So if you email that, it will get to me. And yeah, we do these presentations for free. There's no charge. We are happy to go wherever and talk to anyone. And it is not a political presentation in any way.
No.
We don't discuss laws or policies that relate to guns or gun violence. We, recognize that people in the room are going to have different opinions about gun ownership. We just say we know everyone wants to keep their kids safe, and here's some steps you can take to do it.
And that's it. That's the bottom line. We just want to keep our babies around. And Beth, you have any last thoughts?
Yeah, I just wanted to again reiterate how important it is to go out and vote. And in the last presidential election, we had 57% of eligible age voters in this country voted. That means almost half didn't bother.
Wow.
And so to say that your voice is only one vote, if all of those 43% of voices were heard, that's a huge, huge difference. So make sure you get out and vote. If you want to sign up to be a Gun Sense voter, you can text the word vote to 6443, and that will get you involved in the Moms Demand Action group, or you can go to everytown.org and sign up there.
Grandmother, any last thoughts?
No. Everyone go out and vote.
November 8th.
Very important. November the 8th. Start at 6
a.m.
6 to 6.
6 to 6. Does anybody know where you can go online to find your polling location? Where can you go online to find your
Indiana.gov has it, and I would think that probably that ballotpedia.org,
Right.
when you put your address in there,
Uh-huh.
would probably have your polling location too.
All right, thank you all so much. It's been so amazing.
Thanks for
shining
having
light
us.
into a dark place.
Yeah.
As I wrap up, I wanted to read something else from some of these wonderful children. Dear viewers, she says this as if she's the host. I like that. Hello, my name is Valeria, and I am a Mexican girl. I would like Hillary Clinton to win and become president. Like I said, I'm Mexican. And as you probably heard, Donald Trump said he would deport us to Mexico. And I actually want to stay here. Why? Because here in the U.S., there's better teaching and it's safer. Now, I'm sorry, I can't read that last part. She wanted you to follow her on Instagram. But I thought that was so touching because she wants to be here because she feels that it's safe and she can get a better education. Like I told you, these kids were very impressive, and I didn't sway them either way. And then even one of the girls was like, "We have to respect everyone's opinion," and that's very true. But I was so moved because she said, "I am a Mexican girl," and she was born here. She's afraid of having these opportunities snatched and taken away from her. So I thought that was so important and so profound that even at such a young age, she understands that what it means to feel safe and want to be safe, and not only that, but have a right to the pursuit of happiness. But as we wrap up, I just want to say thank you, everybody. It's just always a pleasure every week of educating the audience, educating myself, and shining a light into dark places. And so everyone, next Tuesday, go out and vote. And please tune in next week. We're going to dive into women in business and the purpose that they had, because you all know I'm all for purpose for your pain. The purpose that they had in wanting to found their own business and be female entrepreneurs. And also, I will go ahead and reveal my community conversation for December. So I haven't put this on social media or anything. I want to do a community conversation saying all we want for Christmas is justice. I want parents to come on, hold up pictures of their children, of all these unsolved cases in Indianapolis, including mine, with our 262 tip flyers, pictures of our babies. And as we have demanded a vote, we need to demand justice in Indianapolis. So if you're interested in being a part of that panel discussion, the community conversation, at this point, I'm not sure if I'm going to have it set up as a panel. I really want it to be a big, open, wide thing and talk to as many parents as I can to try to get some of these cases solved. If you know something, say something. Do you know who shot DeAndre Knox? That's what my 262 tip says. And as I looked at that this morning, I thought about all the unsolved cases, not even just from this year, from years past. So if you would like to be involved, please follow me on Facebook, DeAndre Yates. I keep it simple. Instagram is MZ_instructor. Email me at Purpose for My Pain, and let's talk about getting some of these cases solved. It's the best Christmas present we could ever have.
Yes.
Thank you, and we will see you all next Saturday, 10 a.m., same place.
Beautiful.
That's it.
Right, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Oh, I should have